good as it gets.
Yep, this is it.
Here we are. We do look quite colorful against that neutral background, though. I don't
It
think I
works.
would ever paint the entire inside of my house gray, but we do stand out nicely against it.
We do.
We
And
do.
with your color, and I have a white shirt on, so it's not
You're
very
blending.
colorful.
No.
Yes, I'm definitely a blender.
You're standing out by contrast of value.
All right, that works.
That works. All right, then. So, what we are here to talk about today is how many?
9.
9. She's in charge of all numbers. 9 new 4x4 repeating foam stamps. So when I say repeating, I mean they are just about a seamless tile. So if you get real accurate with your stamping, they create a pattern that's continuous, top to bottom, left to right. And they don't have to be perfect to be awesome, right?
Perfect is highly overrated, and honestly,
Right.
most of the time, perfect takes too much time and too much effort, and my panties get in a knot when I try for perfection, so it's better to not go there.
Better to not go there.
Yeah.
But they're they line up. We'll show you, but they line up and they create a pattern. So here I created this whole sheet of rice paper with the 4x4 stamp, and it gives the impression of a tiling pattern, and this one as well. And there's other things you can use it for. And initially, my thought to Barb, and I will make a video about this, was that I wanted to use it to make a border, a long, tall border along the edge of a painting panel that was about 20 inches tall. So if I painted on an 18 by 24 or a 16 by 20, I wanted to make a stripe down the side with the stamp. So the idea that they would repeat and make one continuous pattern, that was the genesis for the whole project.
It was the birthing place.
Yes.
So not only can you do the collage paper or the rice papers that Elizabeth showed you, but you can stamp, whoops, these want to fall off my lap, you hold. You can stamp the number 10 panel cards. And the cool part is that when you do that, now you might remember these designs. These are, I want to call them the fabulous folk art florals, but technically they're just the folk art florals. But
They are fabulous.
They are fabulous, but here's the thing. You can stamp directly over your background, or you can stamp on a piece of white cardstock. This happens to be watercolor paper, and then you can just go ahead and apply it. So if you've got a dark background or something that you feel like won't be effective to do it this way, then it's a really easy matter to do it this way. And with the fabulous folk art florals, there's lots of different options, lots of different ways that you can use these, and they are indeed fabulous. And the combination of the two is really easy to do. It's a lot of fun. Elizabeth was working with the repeating stamps, and I spent a lot of time playing with the fabulous folk art florals because I had such a good time with them. And ultimately, we realized that they worked really well together, but keep in mind that you can use these for anything. If you've got a favorite stamp, however you do it, whether it's foam or it's rubber or it's photopolymer, you can use them. You don't have to work on a number 10 panel card. You can work on an A7 panel card. You can work on an A2, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, well, the idea too was that these patterns would be kind of small and kind of, like I said, with that decorative border, they would be small, and so they're not competing with your larger element on top. So they're small patterns for small backgrounds.
Well, and the idea that I really like too, and Elizabeth and I talked about this, was these background colors that she used on the craft. Thank you. The wet cement, she saved me. Mm-hmm. The black, and then, well, I don't have a watercolor here. But the whole idea was that these designs are small enough. If you think and you're thoughtful about which paint color you choose against your background, then you can get kind of tone on tone, which is very, very subtle. And then you can choose to have your stamped element be the thing that really takes the light shines on, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, look at how this background I did it on the back too. But you can see how it's pretty, and this one, if you look at that close. So the patterns, yeah, they're subtle in color, close to the panel card. So then that way the colorful flowers stand out nice.
Yes,
So
you ready?
Want to show them how to do it?
Let's go do it.
All right.
All right, here we go.
So the concept behind these foam stamp designs is that they are repeating patterns that you can tile together to create a larger pattern, because the patterns line up from the top to the bottom and the left to the right. Now, granted, when you're stamping, you can't see them to line them up with foam. However, it's not that difficult, and I have had really good results getting them really aligned once you get a little bit of practice. Also, they're not meant to be perfect. They're just meant to create a pattern that can continue on however you want to apply it. So the first way I'm going to show you is on this 6x9 panel card. Barb and I have been making sort of neutral backgrounds with these patterns to put more colorful elements on top of. So in the interest of keeping this neutral, I'm going to be using a tone-on-tone color. So I'm going to be using neutral gray on top of the wet cement panel card. And as always, I like to put paint on my foam stamps with the gel plate. So I will put out a little bit of color on the gel plate. You're going to make a bit of a thicker layer than you would for gel printing to get the paint on the stamp. So I first roll that out, and then I usually roll the first layer of paint onto the stamp with the brayer. You want to make sure you get out into all the corners because this is going to be a pattern that we want to repeat. So you want to make sure you get full coverage of paint. And then I'm going to line it up at the top and stamp. And then when I come down, I just overlap this a tiny bit, about 1/8 of an inch of what I can see. And then I get it lined up just like that. I needed a little bit more paint on that strip. That's why it's important to make sure you get paint on everything. Tap it around in the gel plate, and then for the last one I'll do the same. I let it overlap about 1/8 of an inch from what I can see, and then I get the pattern repeating. So you have this great pattern that just keeps on going. And when you have a wider paper, the pattern lines up this way as well, so then we can stamp out wider. And that will bring me to the next demonstration where I will show you how to put the stamps on gel prints. So now that I've got this tone-on-tone pattern, which is really a nice neutral background for a colorful element collaged or stamped on top, the next way that I like to use the foam stamps is to create a pattern that goes all the way across a sheet of gel printed paper for collage application. So these are a couple of roll-off / cleanup sheets off my gel plate from when I was printing. So I've got some artifacting and some leftover paint from previous layers, and I'm just going to use these cleanup roll-off sheets as a base layer for my stamping and continuous pattern of the star. So let's go with a color that is bright and stands up off of this color of the gel plate, gel print, something like orange or hot pink, something that'll pick up some of the colors in here but be bright and vibrant. So maybe the pink would be bright against that, but I also need a little bit of contrast because that pink is going to be similar to this color. So let's add a little bit of these two pinks together. So this one is permanent red purple, and it's transparent. You can see that because of the open box on the bottom, whereas this one is opaque. That's what's indicated by the solid box. So I'm going to mix a little bit of these two together to create an opaque color that's a little bit darker and will contrast over this sheet of paper. So I'll put those two colors together and stir them together with the brayer and get a nice sort of hot pink color. And I'm going to roll that onto my star. Whoops. Well, we'll just roll with that. My star pattern. And then I'm going to do just as I did in the panel card. I'm going to start in the upper left-hand corner and press. Then I'm going to get more paint, and I'm going to overlap this by about 1/8 of an inch of what I can see and line that up. and you can see the pattern is tiling. Then I'm gonna come to the next one, the same thing, and press. And then left to right, the same thing, overlapping to the left about 1/8 of an inch of what I can see. And the same, about 1/8 there and 1/8 there. And like I said, the more you do this, the better you'll get at it. And there you can see we've got a repeating pattern that goes across the whole sheet of collage paper. Now, something fun that I accidentally did, and I'm not sure if I can repeat it, with this one is, let's see, okay, they went like this. You could do a two-tone on here by layering another set of stars that won't line up perfectly, but will give an interesting effect. So let's give this a shot. You know, when you try to do it on camera, it doesn't work. So here's a lighter pink. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to brayer it out. And then I'm going to stamp it in. And I'm going to put it up here and see how it looks. It should be off alignment just a little bit. There we go. And enough to show that two-tone. So going over the star pattern with itself, it's not going to be perfect. That second one didn't line up perfectly. First one did. There we go. This is interesting as well, though. This one is really close, and these are a little bit off, but we're getting two tones.
It's almost like an optical illusion.
Yeah, like the 3D glasses or whatever.
Without the need for the glasses.
Without the need for the glasses. Got to make sure you've got good paint coverage. So stamp that in there and come down. Ah, that's so fun. I love the two-tone. So there's another way to add the two-tone, the same pattern, repeating. And you could also do this on a roll of rice paper, where you could just keep rolling out the paper and keep going with the star stamp and create yourself a lot of paper, a large amount of paper with that same pattern. And now Barb is going to show you what to do with these fabulous 4x9 cards.
Close.
4x9.5. 4 1/4 by 9 1/6.
Something like that. They're
Something
number 10
like
panel cards because they slip right in those number 10 envelopes.
Number 10. That's a lot easier than a measurement. All right, then. I'm handing it off to Barb.
Elizabeth has shown you how to actually use these repeating foam stamp designs, and I'm going to show you some of the things that we did after the fact. So she stamped a lot of the number 10 panel cards, and then I started to play. I brought in, you might remember these, whoops, as they fly all over the place. These are the folk art florals, and I used these stamps in various combinations to create elements for these cards. Now on this one, the background is light enough and the stamping on it is light enough that I just stamped right on the card. But if you have places where you think that the colors that you stamped might be a little bit too dark, the simple solution is to stamp on some white paper, do the business, and I don't have a Pitt pen here, you do the business where you kind of do that scratchy outline around it, and I cut with a really narrow border. I like that look. If you want wider borders, then you can do that. Little bit of border, again, with the Pitt pen. I did this one wavy because it kind of mimicked the wavy design that's on here. Really, really easy to do and really, really effective. So Elizabeth just brought me the pen because she's fantastic. And so once you get this stamped, you just do this little sketchy stuff around the edge. It's free form, it's not hard to do. You can see that lines go off, lines cross, doesn't make a darn bit of difference. It's supposed to look very sketchy and very loose. So once you get this kind of thing out of the way, you might say to yourself, well, all right, I have all of this wonderful paper that I stamped or I printed and stamped. What can I do with it? And simple things sometimes can be the best. I took some of the collage sheets that she printed or some of the rice papers that she printed, and I just have torn them up and I'm creating a border. You can make this border as narrow as you want, as wide as you want. I could have continued the border down the side, but this is only 8 inches tall and these are 6 inches wide. And I don't want to really compress the design area too much. So what I have are some pieces here ready to go, or I thought I had pieces ready to go. So if I put this on here like this, and then, whoops, I can bring this in again, and then I can just finish it off here. So Dina Wakley Gel Medium is a wonderful adhesive for this kind of stuff. I'm gonna trim a little bit of this off. I have a big old brush that I've had wrapped in a piece of damp paper towel so it doesn't dry up on me. And all I'm going to do is slam some gel medium down. This is not rocket science. It's super easy to do. I'm going to brush this on, and you have to be reasonably generous with this because this is your adhesive and you want there to be enough. And this actually just came inside. I had it outside cooking because it is 102 here, and so it cooked up pretty well, and it dries pretty quickly that way. And I've got that edge right there, but it's easy enough to fix. All I'm going to do is just cover it up this way, and no one will be the wiser. And that really is kind of the beauty of this stuff, is you wing it. Winging it is a good thing. I don't have a problem with that at all. You can see these dots was done with one of Elizabeth's Dottie stencils, and it was done with Tim's Distress mica stains, and so they do move when you put gel medium on them, but that's, again, who cares? There's bigger things in life to sweat. And then I'm just gonna put that on there like that. I'm gonna let this overhang. And then when everything is dry, I find it's much easier to come back and do the trimming once everything is solidly dry. Nothing's going to move on you, and it'll all be really stable. So options for using these repeating foam stamps are wide. Lots of different things that you can do with them, and the results are so easy to get great ones, whether you choose to use it as a repeating stamp or you simply use it here and there. I mean, the options, as I said, really are limitless, and these are wonderful designs that Elizabeth has come up with.
And action. So that's it. I know that was a lot of information, very exciting, but you definitely have to get a few of these repeating pattern stamps because there's so many different things you can do with them.
Options are good. We like options, right?
Options are endless.
You ready?
All right then.
All
It's
right.
time to say goodnight.
Good night,
Goodbye.
Gracie. Goodbye, Gracie.
Goodbye, Gracie.